Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to go through how to clone your current disk or hard drive. Now, in terms of what I'm doing for this laptop, this currently has a physical spinning disk hard drive in it, and we are going to upgrade that to an SSD. Now, there could be a whole multiple reasons that you would want to do this. Firstly is, like myself, you want to make the laptop faster. Therefore, you are going to upgrade from the hard drive to an SSD, which will help the performance of the whole laptop in itself. You may want to make a clone of the disk for a backup. You may want to just be upgrading in size from an SSD to another SSD. Therefore, it's nothing to do with speed, it's more space and physical storage space. Now, there are going to be a few bits that you are going to need. I am going to be upgrading this laptop to a SSD. Now, I am just going from a 500 gigabyte for a like. This is a 512 gigabyte SSD here. This is literally just one from Orico. It's not the most expensive one. This is not the most expensive laptop. It's just to make it a little bit quicker so it doesn't lag behind as it is at the moment. Startup time on this laptop is terrible. I will do a separate video of completely reviving this laptop as well, which is going to be obviously the SSD of us actually physically changing it over and how to do it, and also upgrading the RAM in this laptop as well. But that's to a different video. If you want to see something like that, please do consider subscribing to the channel. The other thing that we are going to need is some kind of USB device to make sure that we can plug in this new SSD so we can clone it over. Now, in this instance, this is just a SATA 3, which you can see the points on here. So we have this little dongle here, which is just... So the reason I picked this particular one is because you can see here it's a USB-A, and it's I think it's a 3.0. You can tell by the blue, and it also has a USB-C connection adapter as well. So it's a 2-in-1, and this was only like $6.99 on Amazon, so it wasn't too much. And then you can see the other SATA end here. So this means that we can plug this disk in, clone the current hard drive over to it, and then we will, in the next video, when we're reviving this laptop and making it fast again, I will show you exactly how to put it in there. Now, without kind of further ado, we're going to talk through. The other thing you're going to need is some kind of software to be able to make the clone. I'm using Minitool Partition Wizard, but this is the free version. Just keep in mind that the versions on their website now is 12 point whatever it is now, but they do ask for a subscription service to be able to clone the disk. However, in this particular one, the free version, which is 11.5, and the older versions, you don't have to pay any kind of subscription whatsoever. So, without further ado, I'm just going to get everything plugged in, and then we will get the software open. The one thing I was always, when you're plugging everything in, make sure that, for example, as I said, this is a 3.0. On this laptop, you'll notice, or some of the laptops that you'll notice, there is a black USB point, and then there is a USB-A, so there's a USB-A, sorry, and there's a USB-A point also with a blue part. The blue one is faster. The old black ones are 2.0, so they're meant to be fairly fast, but the blue 3. It could be stand for a 3.0 or a 3.1, and they are meant to be super fast. So obviously, when you're transferring the data over, the blue ones are going to be quicker. And obviously, if you have a USB-C port in whatever account, that is probably going to be faster as well. So use USB-C as it is the newer port where possible. Now, let me get this plugged in and we will move on to the next steps. Okay guys, we are all plugged in. So on this particular software, as I said, with the Minitool is the one that I'm particularly using. There are so many different free ones, so just make sure you do your research before going out and do it. If you would prefer to pay for a subscription one just to know that you are safe, then fair enough. But in this occasion, I'm going to be using this one for free. So we're going to click the clone part. As I said, this laptop is extremely slow in itself, so I'm going to imagine this is probably going to take some time to actually get done. So I will skip where possible. So when we get into this software, obviously we need to make sure, there's a few things you need to make sure to do when you're doing it. So obviously in this, I've got to click next. Okay guys, so just make sure on this front page that you have both discs showing. It did take a little while for, as I said, this laptop is quite slow, so it did take a little while and a bit of playing around to get the second disc, the new SSD, to actually read in the USB. For some reason, I just advise, it registered it being plugged in, but it wasn't showing on here. I've had to change the USB port that I've plugged it into, and it is now recognising it. So we can see here that we've got the original hard drive right here. You can see all the bits along the top, and what we want to do is we want to click next, because this is the disk that we would like to copy. You can see there on this page you can choose the disk you'd like to copy, and all the partitions will be copied over. So we click next. We then clicked our target drive, so this is where we're copying everything to. Now you'll see at the moment everything is unallocated, and in a minute when you click next on this particular drive on disk 2, it will say fit partitions to entire disk. We want to make sure that that is selected, especially if you are upgrading to a larger SSD or a larger hard drive, because it will just make sure that you are then able to use all of the rest of the space on that disk. So yeah, as long as that fit the partition to entire disk is done, it will then make sure it uses the entire disk, and the partition here will take up the unallocated section for you to actually be able to use for storage. Then we would just click next, and please note the new disk, please configure computer BIOS settings. Make sure the new disk is configured as the default boot disk. So this matters when you're doing it inside of the computer itself, but obviously this laptop only has one hard drive port. You could do that if you have, for example, a hard drive and a like an NVMe port, or if you're changing it to that type of M.2 SSD. So we're going to click finish. So once we've selected that, you'll see them drop down to here, and you want to click apply. Apply the pending changes, close all other applications. So all other applications should be closed in the background. Once you've closed all the background applications, you can then click yes, and then this should start your copying over. Okay, so it's actually going a lot quicker than I thought it was going to go, especially with how slow this laptop has been. But what I will do is I will skip to the end of this, and we will have a look what it looks like towards the end. So partway through your copy, if you're doing it from the computer itself, don't worry if it comes up with this screen. Obviously it's just saying that the C drive is being used right now, because obviously this is being used in the background. You don't have to worry, you just click restart now, and as the laptop restarts and shuts it down, as it boots up again, it will continue copying the drive over. You can see it's going to be restarting, and once it gets back into that part, I will show you the next step. So this is the page that it will come to once it's copying in the background. You can see in the bottom it says copy partition at 0%, process files 100%. So it is, don't worry if you get to this stage, it is still working, it is still copying, it is nothing to worry about at all. Okay, 10 minutes later and we are at 42%, we're nearly there. I'm just showing you my pain at the same time of having to wait for this slow laptop. It was a slow laptop, this is exactly why we're doing this upgrade. I'll catch you in a little minute. Alright guys, looks like we're done, the 100% copying, so it's just updating, it's going to restart the computer now. And we are all done and loaded back in. Now, that took a very long time, it took about 45 minutes because of how slow the hard drive itself is, and this laptop is in general at this moment in time, which is why we're upgrading this. It was that slow that even the camera gave up, and I had to change out the battery for that as well. So in terms of checking as well, to make sure that everything's done, there's a few ways to do this. You could do it just back through the tool that you used, make sure the drive is there. It will then show you the partitions that are already on there, just to make sure that it has copied over properly. You could also just look in the My Computer space. You can see here between the two drives, this is our copied drive. You can see here all of the program files. If we also click the Acer C, which is our boot drive currently plugged in, you can see the exact same files are on there at the same time. Now, in terms of keeping an eye out for the next video, as I said, I am going to be changing over the hard drive in that video, and we're going to have a look at how exactly you can make an old slow laptop, fast again, to be able to use. Something like this is going to be perfect for kids that are going and doing coursework, for school, college, whatever it may be. It's going to be perfect. They don't need anything else. They're not going to game on it. They're not going to do massively coding tasks, unless obviously they're doing some kind of computer science, but then you probably wouldn't be looking at this video. You'd be buying a nice quick laptop. But the last thing I would say to do before you do anything else, or unplugging it or anything along those lines, is to completely shut down your laptop before you do anything else. So make sure it is completely shut down before you unplug it, just to make sure none of that data that you have just copied onto there is then lost forever. I say lost forever in terms of actually probably a bit dramatic. You could just clone it again, but you get the point. Then the next point would be to actually physically insert the SSD into the laptop. But as I said, that's getting done in the next video. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have found this useful, then please do consider subscribing to the channel. And if you want to keep an eye out again for that next video of us completely reviving this laptop into a much more usable, with many more years to go ahead. The one thing I would say as well is the good thing about this SSD, the laptop itself, because of the CPU, may have very limited time period left until the CPU is completely outdated. But with an SSD, you can always pull this back out again and reuse it once it's formatted in a computer or another laptop. So guys, that's why upgrading your laptop to an SSD like this is definitely worth doing. You can always reuse these pieces. So thank you so much guys. Hit that like button. As I said, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.